All right, so again, you're going to go to peardeck.com, go to teacher login, and then once you're logged in, you're going to have a nice little crown on. And the first thing we're going to do is the drop down arrow, and we're going to go to my account. So again, go to your little picture, my account, and then you're going to click settings. Once you're in settings, make sure everything is turned on. Some of you might have this. If I've worked with you in the past, I kind of force people to turn things on. So just make sure everything is turned on. And then if anybody needs help, just let me know. Everyone good? Yeah, okay. So then you maybe have already done a Pear Deck. To find your old Pear Decks, you go to sessions, and then it's going to have the date and what presentation you did. And so here I can see that this session, I've closed it because I'm done with it. So I can end sessions from this dashboard. And this is all at peardeck.com. I signed in with Google, and I'm able to do different things here. So I can end a session if I want to, or I can leave it open. To see the student data, I can click right here. And I can go back and look at how the students are doing. I can again copy the link if I need to copy the link to see the student view or to give the students a certain view. Or you can assign it straight to Classroom. So I know some people are using HyperDocs. If you're using a HyperDoc, you can just paste that right in, or you can share it straight to Classroom. And then once you're in Pear Deck, I can see that one person is on this slideshow. And then I can also see how students respond. Right now there's nobody, but I can see different ways that they've responded. So I'm going to go in as a student. It always asks how they're feeling. And then once I'm on, they can watch YouTube videos in here. This thing right here, everybody just turned it on in settings if you followed those steps. And it's called Immersive Reader. It's kind of like Read and Write for Google.
Push play to listen to a dramatic reading of the poem.
So kids can have things read to them if they needed to. They can also go into here where it has different text, and they can make it bigger, they can make it smaller. They can change the font if they needed to. They can change the different colors if they have like dyslexia and they need a certain font color scheme. It can also go over here. You can turn on grammar so they know which words are nouns if you needed that. They can break the words into syllables if it will help them read. They can also go in here and they have like a line focus so they can focus right on the word. This would help if there's more text. There's also a picture dictionary and then a translator. So for my translator, I have it by the word. I could also do by the document, and now it's in Spanish. Or I could click the word and I can hear the word in Spanish. So for any student that might need that. And then if they also click certain words, there's a picture dictionary if they need that help. So that's Immersive Reader. And then over here, this one's a drawing tool. So I can go here and let's go ahead and just mark on it. On your teacher screen, I can now see the students respond. If I go to grid layout, you'll see all the students in one area, and then you can click list layout to see it bigger. You can also do an overlay to see every single student's response on top of each other. So if you had them like highlight something, you could see it all on top of each other to make sure they highlighted the same thing. I like the grid layout because I can also leave feedback here and I can see everybody's response really quickly. So if you want to leave feedback, you click this little speech bubble and I can say try again. And so then on the student side, they get like an alert down here, and then they have a speech bubble, and it says try again. So then the kids can mark it as read, and then they can go and highlight or whatever they needed to do to fix their mistake. And so that is how you can see real quickly. Also, you can do the quick social emotional check, and I can see that I'm happy. And students, you'll be able to see all their smiley faces. So it'll be green is good, yellow, okay, and then red, they're upset. You can also star answers if you really like this answer and you want to show it up on the board when you come back in. Any questions or want me to go over any of that?
I have a couple questions, Steph. First, when you give the kids feedback through Pear Deck, does it give them a notification, or do they need to get into Pear Deck and like check a place for feedback notifications kind of thing?
They'll need to get into Pear Deck, and then they'll have the speech bubble down here.
Okay, so they go to the actual Pear Deck,
and
that's where they would find it. Okay.
Yeah. I'll show you another way to give feedback after any other questions too.
When you set the link, if I want to create a Google Slides, but I only want one slide to be attached to a Pear Deck, I create the link and then attach the link into that slide. But if I just set it up to where it notifies them in Classroom, should I turn off the setting? I don't want them to get notified in Classroom. I just want them to, when they work through the slideshow, get to the link and open Pear Deck that one time.
Repeat that question.
Like in our settings, it looks like it said when I create the Pear Deck, it will notify them in Google Classroom. If I don't want them to get a notification in their stream or anything like that, I just want to give the slideshow and have them get to it, say Thursday. And when they get to slide number 4 and they click on it, that opens the Pear Deck. I just give them the link, right? I turn off the settings so it doesn't notify them, right?
Yeah. You have that one just like allows you to quickly assign it through Classroom.
Okay. Thanks.
So I keep it on, but you have to click it to assign it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, any other questions? Okay. And so then once you're done with this session, you're always going to end it. And then I hit yes, I'm sure. This one like is tricky because everybody wants to click the red, but you click the white and then you can rename whatever the session was. And then I always publish the student takeaways. And so then you'll wait a second, and the student takeaways takes everything that they learned from the Pear Deck and takes it to a Google Doc. So you can leave feedback in the Google Doc rather than the Pear Deck if you wanted to. So right here, if you copy this link, it's going to create a Drive folder in your Drive, and it's going to now be called Pear Deck. So as soon as you make your first lesson in Pear Deck, it's going to create that folder. And then it's going to create subfolders with each of the different presentations that you've done. And you can also assign it to Google Classroom if you wanted to. So here's the folder for that assignment that I just did. You get a blank copy if you need a blank copy of this document, or you can get the one with every single student. So right here, I did this lesson. The students could go back the next week and write a summary about what they learned. They could go to part 2 and they can see the slide that you had, and they can add additional notes if needed. So this is where you could come in and you could leave comments or using Mote, and you could leave voice comments to them. They can also share this document with their families. So as soon as it loads, they can also use the Explore tool in here, and they could add images if they needed to add more images of the poem. Let's see. They could just drag this over, put that in. They can rewatch any videos because the links will be in there. And so this is just a really good way to recap what they've learned from the session. And then they could share this with another partner in the class, and the students could collaborate together on the learning or whatever they needed to do. If you want to grade something, I always suggest like put in a website slide for the Pear Deck presentation and use Google Forms so it auto grades. Don't use the multiple choice in Pear Deck if you want it to auto grade, because that will not auto grade. So either put like an Edulastic or a Pear Deck or a Google Form, because the Pear Decks do not currently auto grade. And they do have audio if you want to add audio. That was a brand new feature in the spring. Any other questions? Or does anyone need to see audio or anything else? And so that way through the Google Doc, they could get feedback if you tag them, Ralph.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah. Does that make sense for everybody? I don't do well with everyone on mute.
Hey, I guess I just thought of something. If it creates the Google Doc with their particular answers,
Mm-hmm.
there's an easy way to share that back with them, or is it just in their drive under a Pear folder?
They get an email. So they get an email from you and it takes them right to that document.
Is it in their drive by chance, or is it just in my teacher drive?
It will be in their drive, and then they also get an email, and then you can also post it to Classroom.
Cool.
So whatever way you want that takeaway to go. And just make sure you have that setting turned on, because if it's not turned on, they won't get it. You won't have that option to click it. So I send it for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will stop record.